En el centro de la pampa vive un pimiento. Sol y viento pa' su vida, sol y viento.
Hello, my name is Patrick Barnard. Welcome to the 45th edition of the Pimento Report. Almost a year ago, we followed the Montreal citizen, Mr. Robert Hajaly, as he visited the Borough Council meetings of the Borough of Ville-Marie. One must remember, of course, that the Mayor of Montreal, Monsieur Gérard Tremblay, is not only the Mayor of Montreal, he's also the Mayor of Ville-Marie Borough by special legislation. Now, Mr. Hajaly lives in the Peter McGill district of Ville-Marie. That's at its westernmost edge, and it includes the downtown core of Montreal. Robert Hajaly is very attached to the center of this city, and now he's questioning two zoning changes that could alter the unique character of Montreal's cityscape. The zoning changes are happening because Montreal planning authorities want to promote densification, more people living in residences downtown. But Robert Hajaly is questioning the politicians about the details of planning that can make densification either good or bad. The Pimento Report wants to treat the issues that Hajaly is raising. We're going to look at them in some detail. This is a two-part story about architecture and a skyline, about the present and the past, about a city, Montreal, that might just squander the very qualities that make it distinct. For the present, let's look at this story. Hajaly is concerned that an Art Deco masterpiece in downtown Montreal, the Holt Renfrew building, is under the possible, I stress possible, threat of destruction. He is deliberately raising the red flag right now about a building that is recognized as significant by the city of Montreal but has no legal protection. So let's go right now to a street corner in front of Holt Renfrew and find out about the danger to this legally unprotected building.
Robert Hajaly, we're here across the street from Holt Renfrew. Really, this is a classic Montreal corner. Why are you concerned about this area right now?
Well, there is the possibility that the Holt Renfrew store, which we see across the street, will be torn down by its owner or by whoever he sells it to and replaced by condos. And the problem with this is that this is an outstanding store architecturally and commercially. It's one of the few high-end stores in Montreal. It's the anchor for this whole sort of high-end commercial area. And the fear is that if this section here is sort of destroyed and replaced by condos, it'll damage the whole area as a kind of high-end shopping area.
It's a pretty unusual building.
Yes, it was designed by Ross and McDonald, who were the most outstanding architects of the time, and this in the 1930s. They received the Medal of Honor from the Royal Architectural Society of Canada for it. It's in the Art Deco style, and from an architectural point of view, it would be an outstanding loss if it were destroyed. So there's the commercial angle, it eliminates competition of high-end stores. There's the urban planning aspect, it destroys the commercial character of the area, and architecturally it's a considerable loss.
Now, when you say it destroys, I take it you mean a zoning change that would encourage the owner to destroy the property?
Yes, that's right. The city has proposed raising the proposed heights on this block from 25 meters or 82 feet, which is roughly the height of the store, to 65 meters or 213 feet, which would allow the store to be destroyed and condos to be put up, roughly 21 stories, that sort of thing. The word on the street is that the owner of this store, who's bought Ogilvy's, will move the store into Ogilvy's, therefore sort of eliminating the competition, and will then sell this store to a developer who will tear it down and build a condo thing of around 21 stories or so.
It's not protected?
I find this shocking, and people I've told this to find this shocking. This is an outstanding architectural landmark. How could the city ever think of this?
Well, I think the city has a strategy that they want to increase the residential component downtown. And if they go ahead with this, it's not It's not certain that they will. I think they're just overlooking the other merit of this store, which is partly architectural and partly as a commercial anchor for this high-end shopping area. And of course, there's the competition aspect. It'll be eliminating competition. So in their desire to promote residential development, they may overlook these other very valuable factors for Montreal.
I have put some photos of the Holt Renfrew building up on Facebook, and almost immediately people had reactions. Montrealers who know something about the city are shocked that this building might be in danger. But someone who is, I would say, quite favorable to the market and developers said to me this morning, well, why not just preserve the outer shell of the building and then the developer could build up? How would you feel about the preservation of the outer shell of that building?
Totally opposed. The building, of course, it is an architecturally distinguished landmark, but it's also a famous store, and many people shop there. And in fact, there's only two major high-end stores in Montreal. There's a Holt Renfrew and Ogilvy's. If you eliminate Holt Renfrew, then you just basically got one store left. So from a commercial angle, and also remember what I said before, the significance of Holt Renfrew isn't just architectural, it's the anchor for this high-end commercial area in Montreal, which is like our Mayfair, our Fifth Avenue, whatever it is. So that would be a great loss if it was just a facade. It's totally unacceptable, in fact.
A Montreal businessman who really knows his way around this city confirmed to me today that it's 99% sure, in his view, that the business of Holt Renfrew will indeed go inside the Ogilvy building. Now, if that happens, what should be done with the Holt Renfrew building?
It should be sold to another person who's willing to develop it commercially, to preserve its commercial vocation, to maintain an element of competition with Ogilvy's, which will be the only Ogilvy's Holt Renfrew, which will be the only thing left as one owner. So, what we want the city to do by maintaining its commercial zoning, by maintaining the present height, is to make sure that if it is sold to another high-end commercial retailer who will continue its vocation for Montrealers.
In the case of the existing Holt Renfrew building, densification means two zoning changes: a shift from commercial to residential and increasing the maximum height requirements. Robert Hajaly is worried about another site nearby, though, where a major developer, Cadillac Fairview, wants to put up a massive residential tower. The proposed building is covered by a municipal regulation, Montreal Bylaw 9381, which limits the base of that structure and the total height. But in the last months, the borough of Ville-Marie has just passed a derogation which can allow those limitations in the bylaw to be disregarded. Let's go now to the site in question, right in front of the hockey arena known as the Bell Centre, and listen as Robert Hajaly explains the issues at stake.
The plan here is to put a high-rise residential building, and the scale of the building is too great for the site, for the immediately surrounding buildings. It will block the sun on the street. It will create an overwhelming presence for pedestrians going by. It'll block too much the view of Mount Royal from the south.
Is the plan to put the building right here where we see these hockey players?
That's exactly what it is.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. The plan has two parts. There's first of all a base, which will cover virtually all of this site, which will be 14 floors high. And then on top of that, a tower of 47 stories, which is rather more narrow. And both the base is too big for the immediate surroundings. You can see here, if we can have a look, the buildings are all small buildings, 2 and 4 stories. The Bell Centre itself is the equivalent of 7 stories. So what we wanted, first of all, was a base that harmonizes better with its surroundings, which, as I said, throws less of a shadow across the street, blocks the view of Mount Royal less, and so on. The other thing is a little bit different. It has to do with the tower, and the relevant point about the tower is how it fits into the Montreal skyline and the neighboring towers, which unfortunately we cannot see from here. But basically, what we want is a tower that would mediate between the greater height of the towers to the east and the lesser height of the towers to the west, so as to create a kind of gentle decline. And this accords actually with the Montreal urban plan, which is to create a skyline profile, which would be sort of like a gentle summit parallel to that of Mount Royal. So to create two summits, you have Mount Royal, which is a natural one, and to create a building profile downtown, which is an artificial one, which would be a very distinctive and attractive characteristic for Montreal. And the height of this tower goes completely against this idea. There's no sort of mediation, if I may put it that way, between the high towers to the east and the lower ones to the west. So what I was suggesting is a tower of an intermediate height, which would create this gentle profile between the higher towers to the east and the less high ones to the west. Okay, let me just illustrate. This is a tower to the east of the proposed tower. It is 199 meters. The proposed tower would be 197 meters. It's almost the same height, so it would not provide a kind of gradual decline to this building over here, which is only 119 meters. This building here is 119 meters to the west, and what you would have is just a sudden drop-off of heights rather than a kind of a gradual and continuous decline. If in fact they build a tower that is 197 meters, which is what is proposed, which is the same height as this building, but totally bigger than this building.
A difficult question. Have you found other people who agree with you, or are you just a very strong-willed individual who wants your aesthetic choices to be conformed to by the city?
No, not at all. What I'm recommending accords with the plan that the city themselves have put forward. The city themselves, at a recent proposal for the heights and densities of downtown, had put forward the idea that the towers should be highest in the middle of the downtown and gradually decline towards the periphery to create a kind of gentle summit profile, which would mimic that of Mount Royal, which would reproduce that of Mount Royal, but a kind of artificial profile. So I'm just actually following the city's own urban planning ideas. This is not my idea. And what I'm saying is they are not acting according to their own idea, which I think is a very attractive idea and indeed would make the city look very attractive, let's say to somebody who goes on the Belvedere in Mount Royal and has a look at the city, like a tourist, for example.
On February 7th, 2012, Robert Hajaly went to the Ville-Marie Borough Council meeting, and he publicly made the argument there that we've just heard, the same kind of argument about a sloping skyline and desirable scale. He made the argument to the mayor and the councillors, and then he made a request.
My request is to please work with the developer to develop a building that respects the bylaw, which will be better in every way, one that we can be proud of. That's my first question.
Oui. Je vais répondre à M. Hajaly en français parce que je sais qu'il comprend très bien le français. Donc, comme je vous l'ai mentionné, M. Hajaly, plus tôt au mois de décembre, il s'agit d'un projet qui est adopté dans les années 90. Donc, on respecte intégralement le projet. Ce qu'on est venu changer, en fait, c'est l'usage, parce que l'usage prévoyait des bureaux. Donc, on vient inclure l'objet résidentiel. Puis on passe d'un édifice de 44 étages à 61 étages. C'est sensiblement la même hauteur. Je vous réitère ce que je vous ai offert au dernier conseil. Mon équipe et moi, on vous a offert de vous rencontrer pour pouvoir vous donner des explications. Donc, ce projet de règlement-là qui a été adopté par le conseil d'arrondissement respecte le premier projet qui a été adopté dans les années 90 et respecte entre autres toutes les lois, entre autres la loi sur l'aménagement et l'urbanisme.
I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
Basically, it's been...
I don't understand why he's saying that, not that he don't understand.
This tower in 1992 was included in the urban plan. So there's no change really. It's only the vocation of the building that has been changed from office to residential.
I understood that.
So that's it. So we're not going to rewrite history. I think that the promoters of that building in 1992 knew what they could do, and basically we're all following up on the decision that was taken in 1992. And so in that sense, the project will go forward. We voted on that project unanimously. We accept your considerations and your reflection, but I think that Mac Labelle had an opportunity to meet with you and explain to you why we took that decision.
But excuse me, the building you're doing now is 197 meters. The bylaw says 176 meters. The base is 14 stories, the bylaw says 7 stories. It's not the same.
Okay, but,
I mean, anybody can understand that.
Monsieur Hajaly, this morning I had a meeting with Monsieur Lebiard and other members of the urbanism department, and I think the Cadillac Fairview, the promoter, he changed the number of floor of the building. I think they decreased of 17 floors, and now they conclude with 44 floor for housing and
light commercial retail outlets.
How much commercial? How many floors?
I don't have this information.
Sais-tu, Marc, combien de... See, these are things that we can discuss. I think you can have another meeting and with Labelle and go more in the details. And if we can communicate, you know that, you can talk to Sam, you can talk to the elected members.
I sent him an email.
Yeah, but he'll answer, okay? So try to get back to him on that. I think it's important, okay?
Okay.
What's your impression of tonight?
Well, I didn't really understand both LaBelle and the mayor. They seem to be suggesting that the building as proposed, at Tour Avenue de Canada, this very tall building, was in line with the bylaw, when it very plainly is not. I mean, the height of the tower exceeds what's permitted. The height of the base of the building, which is the wider structure, also exceeds what's permitted by 100%. So what were they talking about exactly? It clearly exceeds the bylaw. It's not desirable that it does so, and I didn't get a straight response, quite frankly. Anyhow, I'll wait for LaBelle's email to come around, his answer to me, and perhaps I will see it. Perhaps I will take up that suggestion.
There are a couple of people who came up and patted you on the back. I got the feeling that they did understand what you were getting at, namely you were holding the city to certain zoning regulations involving the height of buildings downtown. That seemed to strike a chord with at least a few people in the room. Do you feel that's true?
This is an issue which exists elsewhere, and I feel that you saw there were two other similar issues that were raised. One was on Drummond Street, the other one was on De la Commune. There is this desire in the administration to promote development downtown at all costs for any number of reasons, to increase the tax base, to diminish people's use of public transit, to strengthen the center, whatever. And it seems very often that they're willing to do this in a way which does not take adequate consideration of the impact of those buildings on the surroundings where people live, where they work, and even if it might even violate the bylaws. That they're so intent on promoting development that they're sometimes willing to do things that perhaps they shouldn't do. They're too willing to bend over backward to please the developers, to get them to put buildings there. And I think I don't want to be too presumptuous, but my feeling is that this applies to the building I'm concerned with, the Tour Avenue de Canada. They bent over backward to give the guy what he wants, even though it's not advisable from an urban planning point of view at all.
I'd like to ask you something about this. Densification has become a kind of buzzword.
That's right.
But are you suggesting that there's good densification and there's bad densification above all in a city like Montreal?
Absolutely. You want to preserve, what is good densification? Good densification refers to development downtown which preserves the livability of downtown. Downtown is a place where people would like to live, which doesn't create buildings which are overbearing, which blot out the sun, which blot out the views. So yes, that's what, and this bylaw, to my mind, was very wisely crafted to create a building that was harmonious with its surroundings, wasn't overbearing in terms of people on the street, that permitted the sun to go through, that permitted views of Mount Royal, and all this they seem to be ignoring. That's my definite impression. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be personally critical of what they're doing. I don't know quite why they're doing it, but that is the consequence. And it's consequences I'm concerned with more than motives, to be honest with you. I'm concerned with the product.
Cadillac Fairview, the developer of La Tour de l'Avenue des Canadiens, has not answered any of the emails sent to them by Mr. Robert Hajaly. The Pimento report also sent an email asking the developer about the number of stories of residences and the height of the tower, and we did not receive an answer. In a very short time, the Office de Consultation Publique de Montréal, the OCPM, is going to release a report about these proposed zoning changes. Robert Hajaly is awaiting that report anxiously, so are a lot of other people. This is, as they say, a story à suivre. This is Patrick Barnard saying goodbye for now from the Pimento Report.